Hi! Welcome to another installment of the Mind Management Mentors podcast. And wow, have we got a guest for you today? Because we literally are pulling in guests from all over the world with different concepts, different understanding, different BS. Now, when I say BS, I mean belief systems, not what you thought I was saying there, Karen, in any way whatsoever. Karen, introduce yourself. What do you do? Where are you from? And what are we going to be talking about today?
Okay, my name is Karen May Simpson. I am actually living in Aberdeenshire, northern part of Scotland, originally from South Africa.
Lovely.
And I've been here 30 years. So my husband would basically say, I'm getting there to be now Scottish. Before he would go, no, you're not here long enough. But
My
since
wife
I'm
says
like,
the same thing.
But since I'm looking at it going, well, I'm actually here longer than I've been in Africa. So I should be now classed as Scottish. So today, I've been in the health and well-being field for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
And it's been a really interesting journey going on so many different things, because how I started was actually through my dad. My dad got ill, and because I had trained as a hotel manager, a catering manager, I understood about food. And then I started making up menus for him to see what we could do to help him. Cut long story short, that is actually where the healing journey began. He was the one, because he was ill, he was the one who guided us into nutrition, looking at alternatives. Well, when I say alternative, it's not alternative, it's like a basis of life. And learning more about how the body works, what it does, and what we need to do in order to live, survive, because we are the only ones that heal us. Nobody else heals us, and we can have all these so-called wives' tales and everything, but there's always substance behind it. There's
It's
always
not.
substance.
Yeah, it's not an old wives' tale. Maybe the old wives' tales were. Maybe the alternative is the new medicine that came in that's now become normal, right?
That's right. So if someone says to me, oh, but you do alternative therapies, and I go, no, I don't do alternative. They were actually there before the medicines that we've got now. So actually the medicines that we have now is actually the alternative. So in order to create those drugs, they needed the herbs and the medicines beforehand in order to have what we have today.
I love it. And it's funny that I was talking to another podcast guest that was out there. Was said we are technically considered as alternative, but we jump straight on it. We're not the alternatives. We're the originals, because we do come from the same place of understanding medicine from a different aspect. That maybe the traditional ways of going to see a doctor, take a tablet, and don't actually get any better is maybe not. Or could there be a different way of looking of how we can treat our health?
There's always a different way of treating our health,
Yeah.
because we are the actual owners of our own body, of our mind, everything. We are in charge of it. Nobody else can actually heal us.
Yeah.
We are the only ones that heal us.
And is there any proof that the tablets that we take actually do heal us? Let's go on a tangent, because this is actually not the premise of the podcast, Karen. You
No,
are completely different to anyone I've had on, which is why I said we've got to speak about this on the podcast, because as Isa in Still Game One said, the people need to know, right? The people
yeah,
need to know. That's the
that's it.
reason we want to give the options and give the opportunities for people to go, oh, this is something I've maybe not looked into the past. So for anyone that was watching this, oh, it's another podcast that's like, oh, bashing the NHS. Not bashing the
No.
NHS in any way, not bashing the doctors in any way whatsoever.
The thing is, what we have to remember, there's a time and place for everything.
Yeah.
And if we can work together, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
It's not a case of saying the doctors are wrong or we're right. There's none of that. It's about how do we work together? And when we can start working together, that is when there is a huge synergy. We all work together and life is good. Because if someone has a car accident or they need heart surgery, there's no point in doing, lotions and potions because that ain't going to help them right there and then. We need the doctor to do his job.
Yeah.
What he's trained to do. That is why we have the doctors. It's not like we have to do away with them. No, we need them just as much as, we need the other side of it. If we put the two together, that is what is the best way to go forward.
Yeah. So, which brings us on to what does Karen May Simpson do? Because clearly you don't sell paracetamol.
Definitely not.
No. So we met, and I always try and be as transparent with everybody. I'm a big believer in consciousness, a big believer in vibration, and a big believer of resonance. And you spoke quite timidly because you can't, I might be wrong. Honestly, Karen, tell me if I'm wrong. It's my perception of you. You seemed a little bit quite timid at the networking, and you like, but a lot of us at the networking knew each other. So quite a few of us came over to Karen to get you to involved and talk to people, which is what we do and stuff like that. Yeah. But it kind of felt like you wanted to speak more about what you did. And once I had that chat with you, and it was only 5 minutes, I straight away, I don't mess around. I don't pussyfoot around, as we say, where I'm from originally. I was like, let's talk about it on a podcast. You were like, yeah, let's talk about it on a podcast. So that's what we're going to do. The Karen May Simpson with a picture of tranquility in the background. Tell me, what is it you do?
Well, you've just asked me that question, and I say, I'm jack of all trades, master of none. Because we learn so much, we take little bits and pieces, and that's how we make us. So everybody has the same. Everybody learns things as they go around in life, and that's what makes them. So my learnings, my teachings is more about, I want to say, complementary therapies, for the simple reason you gather this information. How does the body work? What actually makes it tick? How do we survive on this planet? It's not just about the therapies, it's about food, about what we eat, how we grow, things like that. So I wouldn't have said I was just going down, oh, I'm a therapist.
Yeah.
Because it's not just a therapist. And when we say therapist, I use that loosely because it's, again, I'm only guiding and showing people what they can do to help themselves.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, each person heals themselves. They have to do the work. No one else can do the work. So for me, I feel as though that my plan here is to actually educate people.
Yeah.
And show them what they can do. So I started off doing reflexology. And
is reflexology in the foot?
That's right. Well, so reflexology is in various places. So you can do it on the feet. Primarily, it's down on the feet.
Yeah.
You can do it on your hands. You can do it on your belly. You can do it on your ears. You can do it on your face. So there are all these points that relate to the different organs, glands, and nervous system in the body. But traditionally, everyone knows it as you're working on the feet.
Yeah.
So I started having that or learning about it because I actually suffered from hay fever.
Oh, right. Okay.
And I've never had hay fever in my life before. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what the problem was. But my eyes closed up.
Right.
So much so that I couldn't see, and landed up in the hospital with them trying to put cream inside my eye. And I'm like, how do you want to put cream inside my eye? So I had 2 days that I couldn't see. My eyes just closed up. And then it was my husband who said, you never think of trying some reflexology? I'm like, I don't even know what that is.
Why would reflexology be the first thing that popped up for hay fever?
Well, he had got a benefit. Yeah, but he had got a benefit from for his back by having someone work on his feet. And he's like, just try it to see what happens. So I did. And the next day I went to watch cricket in the fields. And nothing, no hay fever, no nothing. I didn't have the runny eyes, nothing happened. And I was like, this is weird. This is, how on earth does this work? So I actually went and I did a 6-week course on reflexology, thinking I better do this first before I dive into it and go and learn it, because maybe I don't like feet. Maybe I don't like working with feet. So it's like, don't go and spend all this money and then you go, oh, I don't really like feet, so I can't work on them. So I actually trained in it because I loved it, because feet tell you so much.
They do, actually. Yeah.
It's like, if your feet are aching and you look at the points and you figure it out where it is, it tells you what's happening in your body.
Yes, love this. I love what, because do you know, I had reflexology done in a massage on a cruise ship, and they went, "Oh, you've got reflexology in this as well." They went, "Have you got anything you got like been struggling with?" I went, "Actually, kidney problems. Sometimes kidney problems." And they were like, "All right, yeah, not a problem. That's fine." And they dug into a certain part on the foot, and I was like, "Oh, it's just the strangest thing." I was like, "Oh." Because I'd had acupuncture years ago, and that's very similar to the pressure points and things like that, but different. That worked, and that opened my mind to, oh, I can't believe I can just feel like an energy release. And I was like, wow, it was sciatica, and these were ancient medicines. This is pre-traditional medicine now.
That's it.
Which was the alignment of energies and things like that, which is what we're going to be talking about today as we are building this crescendo to. Yes. We're with the feet at this moment in time, Karen. We're up with the feet, but where are we going to go next? When I ask you, Karen, what is it you do? Maybe I should ask the question, what is it that's on your chest? Because that's the most important part, if you don't mind me asking.
Yes. So first of all, I just want to put in a disclaimer that whatever we discuss here is not intended to treat, diagnose, or cure anything that's going on with anybody.
Yeah.
And what I want to share with you and your listeners today is we want to bring into the awareness of an unparalleled process of regeneration in which the body is the one that knows best. And it's for each and every one of us to evaluate what that could potentially mean for them.
When you
I'm not a doctor.
Best, go on. I know you're not a doctor. No,
I'm not a doctor. I'm not, so it's a case of, if whatever we're discussing about this new technology is for informational purposes only. So if there's anything that people are, when they're listening to this and think, oh, well, I've got this wrong with me, that wrong with me, please go back to your healthcare practitioner, your doctor, and go and check that out. That I have to say before.
Okay? Why do you feel that you have to say that, Karen?
For the simple reason, people can misinterpret what we're discussing.
Right.
And say, but you said whatever, that would cure that, or that would treat that. And it's a case of, no, what we're trying to explain is that what we're speaking about is everyone's different.
Yeah.
And we have to bring the awareness to people to allow them to understand that there are things out there that everyone has their own journey. Mm-hmm. When they start using something like you've just said, you've had reflexology. How was that? It's not going to be the same for everybody. And it's not going to be the same every time.
Yeah.
So today I want to really speak to you about this technology it's not new. It's been in the world for the last 20 years. And this is it. It's a little patch. So basically it's sticky on one side, smooth on the other, and it's a wearable light technology. And when we say it's a wearable light technology, what we're saying is that we have, how can we put this? You know, we've got our stem cells in the body that is created by us. That's how we're made. We're made by stem cells. And sometimes they just go array. So we know by the age of 35 that 50% of our stem cells go dormant. And what we're looking at, so whatever we did in our 20s is much harder in our 30s, 40s, 50s, and so on.
Yes.
Okay. So one of the things when I first came into this technology, it was like, oh, now this makes sense, because you see, for, you know, sportsmen and women, by the age of 35, we're retiring, and you're going, you're retiring? You've only just started your life. And you're retiring. And you're like, how? Why? Because the body can't cope with it, or they can't repair the same as what they're doing when they're younger. So as we get older, from the age of 35, 50% of our stem cells have gone to sleep. So by the time we're aged 60, we've only got 10% that are actually working. So you think about a child who, 10-year-old, runs around, breaks its arm, that child heals really quickly. Granny falls and breaks the hip because she's in that hospital or having care for the next 6 to 8 weeks minimum, because it's taking that much longer to heal.
Okay, so to explain to me the stem cells, because maybe I don't know what stem cells are. Are stem cells the regenerative tissues that we have within our body?
No. So
good. That's why I want to know. Tell me what stem cells are.
Okay, stem cells are basically when mom and dad get together, the zygote then will make heart cells, brain cells, liver, kidneys, whatever. That's how we're made. So we call stem cells are what we call pluripotent. So it will go to whatever is required. So if the body needs tissue for the bones, or we want heart cells, we want kidneys, whatever is required to make us a human being, that is come from stem cells.
And our stem cells, according to after 35, stop, they become dormant. They're still there, but they're not as active, so they're not regenerating as much.
That's it.
So if let's use it, because this is actually going to really go well. So for me, who did think at one point I had a kidney problem, turns out there was nothing wrong with my kidneys. It was a gluten intolerance. Because I'm 47 now, would my stem cells not be as active and regenerating kidney problems?
Yes, because you don't have that many left to be working. So if you think at the age of 35, you've got 50, and as we're getting older, there's less and less that are actually active. The rest are going to sleep.
Right. So on that premise, Karen, and can I call you Karen? Karen me or Karen?
No, Karen. It's fine.
Perfect. Karen, you sound more Scottish than most people that I know as well, by the way. I wanted to mention that. There's no South African left. However, especially Aberdeen is such a... Whereabouts in Aberdeen? Are you up Stonehaven way?
No, further north, going up towards Peterhead.
Peterhead, right, yeah.
Old Meldrum is where I'm from.
You do sound like the fisherman of that way. So what we're going to be talking about is the power of light therapy and the power of that patch, yes, which is going to help generate more light, and how. That's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
And within more light that we have, and I think a lot of people will agree that when they go out in the summer or when the summer's coming along, they feel better because they're getting more vitamin D.
That's it.
Yeah.
Perfect. So when we go into the sunshine, like you said, we get that light. We feel amazing.
Yeah.
We feel absolutely amazing when we have that sun on our skin. But what we're doing is we're actually starting to get that sunshine, but it's not activating the cells.
Mm.
Okay. So what the patch does, and inside this patch is a crystal lattice.
Right. Crystal. Yeah, love crystals.
Amino acids, oxygen, water. That's all on a molecular structure. And there's a wavelength of light that's in there through the crystals. And what happens is when you put this patch on, your body lights. So when we say our body light, everyone thinks, oh, what is that? Don't understand that. It's a case of think about, see it on the TVs and all that. When they go into a dark area, they've got night vision goggles, and you can see the outline of us, human beings. Well, that's our body light shining out. We can't see it just when we're speaking to one another.
Yeah.
But if we're right in the dark and we wear those glasses, you can actually see the light.
Yeah.
So what that light is doing is targeting the center of this patch, and it reflects back into the body.
Yeah. So
can I just finish?
Yeah, please. I was just going to ask a question. Yeah, go for it.
So the activation of this patch is then activating the copper peptides in your body. And that is what is waking up the stem cells. It's the copper peptides that are working on the stem cells. Now, these patches don't have anything in them per se. And when we say that, we have got no chemicals. There's no medication. There's no vitamins. There's no supplements. There's no uppers. There's nothing in there other than a crystal lattice with oxygen, water, and sugar.
And is oxygen, the water, and the sugar already in the crystal?
That's right.
So we're getting the crystals from the earth.
Well, the thing is, whatever has been, it's used. Crystals are not like the ones we have on our side table, like the amethyst and all that. Yeah. They do it all on molecular structure. But when we say the crystals, they are formed through the how can I put this? It's wavelengths of light.
Yeah.
That's how it's formed. So this is what we call the crystal lattice. So all these molecules are going into the patch itself.
Yeah.
They reflect your body light. Your body light reflects onto the patch and it goes back into the body, and then it starts working on those copper peptides.
Brilliant. Fantastic. So I find this fascinating, especially when I'm getting obsessed with vibration. I just and I saw something, a little bit of a digress, but I did see something recently that they had pulled out a skin cell from one person, took it through to another room, made that person feel sad, and the skin cell 2 rooms away had the same reaction, even though they weren't connected anymore. And they said that they could do that up to 2-3 miles away and have their DNA somewhere else, and there would still be the same resonance on that. So that's the power of the connection, the connectivity, and the consciousness, and all those things, which is what I think we both want everybody to start opening their eyes to. Is maybe this is not alternative, maybe this is the original. So if I was to look at you, Karen, under the night goggles, would you glow up brighter than me because of your... it's a fair question. Technically, would you glow up more?
I wouldn't say you would glow up more, but what you would notice is that, have you ever done Kirlian photography?
No.
Have you had your aura scanned?
Yes.
Okay. So if you think about, we have layers going all the way out, right? Sometimes what happens, if your body is not in alignment, if things are array, the outside of your field, your energy field, will go in and out and be a bit wobbly. So there'll be some sides that were really nice and compact, and then other bits that you'll go in and there'll be a bit of a hole, and that you see it on, like, when they take photographs of your energy.
Yeah.
you can actually see if it's all nice and tidy.
Yeah.
Or it's a bit jagged.
Like misalignment.
Yes.
Yes.
So we have,
like
there's
a
a
chakra
lot
balancing.
Yes and no, but it's also about what's happening in the cells.
Yes.
So it's not just about the chakras, but the chakras are all that energy alignment. Yeah. So it's a case of what we want to see is, and they have done the studies, that when they've taken a test, done the photography, and seen that the outside of the body is jagged, the minute that they've been using the patches, that all starts to start working and getting back into alignment.
Yeah. Fantastic. I love that.
And that's what, it's not like you stick on a patch and all your problems are sorted.
Yeah.
It's not. It will take time and it will go according to your body. So what you experience is not what Joe Bloggs sitting next to you is going to experience.
Yeah.
And there's also some people that have the one-hit wonders. You put it on and hey, presto, all my pain, everything is sorted. Great. It doesn't happen for the next person. It might take months. So what we're saying is for every decade where we are old, that's how long we use the patch. Because we didn't get to this point overnight. It's taken time.
Yeah. Perfect. So how did you stumble upon this? Generally, we always look at the smile. You're like, yes, Cuddy, thanks for asking that question. But we are like, I wouldn't have found out about consciousness, about meditation, about vibrancy if I'd not had a negative thing in my life, which was a nervous breakdown. I couldn't understand my emotions. I had to have that negative experience for me to start going on a journey of positive experiences.
Yeah.
So Karen, that's what asked me the question. What's your journey into finding out that LifeWave therapy?
X39 patches. Technology.
X39, let's go for
technology.
X39 patches. That's not the bus that goes to Edinburgh from leaving. That's the. So let's talk about X39. How did you stumble upon X39?
Okay, so during the COVID time, my friend and I had already started on growing our own vegetables. And I was looking at different things to how can we have our vegetables being more prolific? How could we have them really being the best that they can? And I started looking at electroculture. Now, electroculture is all to do with copper.
I've got something just popped into my head. My uncle constantly had a copper band years ago. They were a thing, do you remember the copper bands?
Yeah.
He swore by it.
Yeah.
Are we going back to that
Yeah.
Bang on, go for it. Look, there it is. That's a light bulb moment for me. Thank you very much, Karen. Carry on.
So if you go back in time and you see how our cities or our towns were made or created as to going, well, how do we build and all of that, you'll actually find that there's always a steeple. There was always a copper steeple on top of a church or a high building, and there was always water somewhere around. So you're looking at it going, okay, what's that going to do with it? The electromagnetism. And that's what's changing. You hear the likes of Nikola Tesla, free energy. Well, that was free energy.
Yeah.
Right? So I started by playing around with copper, wrapping it around a piece of wood, sticking it into my plants to see what would happen. Well, I put it into my strawberry plants and I was like, I used to have all my clients go, come and have a look at my plants. Is this normal? Because the strawberry plant leaves were the size of my hand. And I'm like, I've never seen strawberry plant leaves that big, And so it went on. And it was like, wow, everything seems to just grow bigger. And then I started looking and going, well, if this is really true, why have we got poverty? Because if this is what the electroculture actually does, and I've seen it in the States, they have like massive cauliflowers. They have everything's bigger. Do you know what I mean? What was the saying for America? Everything's bigger and best in America. But this is happening in, Italy, in Hungary, all over. People are starting to use the electroculture in order to get better crops, better tasting, things like that. So that was my first step. And then a friend of mine said to me, well, you're into your copper, read this book. And it was, I can't remember what it was called, The Cure, I think it was. And it was, again, speaking about copper. But then he spoke about the periodic table. And it was like, why is copper above iron?
Mm.
And he started to explain this, and you think, well, that's not coincidence, is it? We know that there's no such thing as coincidence. So why is copper above iron? So most of the medical team would most probably go, you're tired, I'll give you some iron to give you lift up, a bit more energy. We're now finding out that it's not iron that we need, it's copper.
Oh. Ooh.
So
Bombshell.
then I start looking more at this and I'm like, okay, so where do we find copper? I've got a whole lot of copper in my garden, and not that I can eat it, but I can transfer that into my plants, into my food. I'm then consuming it. But where else can I find copper? Copper is in dark chocolate.
Oh.
Over 70% pure dark is where you can get copper.
Now you're talking about language.
So that's what part of it, why it started like that. And then I picked up another book that my friend had left here for some time. And sometimes you're looking for a book and you think, yeah, I'm needing to get my hands into something, but I don't know what. And I picked up this other book, and he was speaking about light and how the body uses light and how we can heal ourselves through light. Yeah. So what is light? What light is a frequency. Light is energy.
Yeah.
We are energetic beings. We produce energy. We produce light.
Now, there is some cultures that would suggest that putting your anus up to the sunlight would. I saw the body shake a little bit there, Karen. However, there is some literature on the sacral chakra that when it is faced up towards the sun, that you are technically taking in full sun, full energy into the anus, and it's good for you.
Never heard of that one, but doesn't mean to say that it's not about.
So the book, The Cure, I've got a feeling I might have seen that in my. I've not read it, but The Cure is all about natural foods and how they can actually help us. Yeah, there's so many things that. Is that not the Australian doctor that I see on my TikTok occasionally that talks about?
No, this is two scientists.
Yeah.
That are busy speaking about it. I don't have it to hand, but definitely, it's taken copper to another level for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now I get, like, my mom and dad used to work in copper and brass. So as a child, I was brought up with that. And it's like when I got involved with the patches, I was like, I've done a 360 here. Because I've been shown all about copper and brass from a very early age. and then I'm back to it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
and it's a case of when you look at the Indian culture, they use a lot of brass and copper.
Yeah.
Their cooking is always in a brass or copper pot. My dad used to always, because he was a chef, he would always say to me, make sure your pans are all copper based. You have better conductivity.
Yes. So, loving it so far. What is some of the, bearing in mind you don't diagnose, you don't cure, you don't FYI, what is some of the common ailments people would come and see you for, Karen?
Well, at the moment, I do massage, I do energy work, but the way I'm focusing now is how, and I think the way the times are going, we have to take ownership. So I'm trying to push the ownership on other people. I'm not here to heal you. You are here, you heal yourself. So when I say this, I'm showing people that you can use like the likes of a patch to actually start working on yourself. You don't have to come to me every week to have a massage or have something done in order for you to start feeling better. You can put a patch on every single day, wear it for 12 hours, take it off, and your body is actually starting to heal. It's starting to sort out those niggles, remembering that stem cells will go to the places that the body requires it first, not where you want it to go.
I like that.
So if you say to me you've got a sore knee, and you go, my knee's really sore, and I'm like, I hear you. However, the body's going, well, actually, I need to sort those kidneys out first before we worry about the knee.
Ah, right, yeah, I get that. So that's like root cause therapy, which is me as a coach is that generally always look for the root cause. So the anxiety is the symptom, and the problem's over here. So if the
Yes.
bad knee, you like we could say that the bad knee is hurting, well, actually the pain's in the kidney.
Yeah.
And what you're suggesting is that light therapy goes where it needs to go to heal. So it's that dual. There's definitely got to be a dual essence of the you are bringing in the extra sunlight or bringing in the extra light, so the body starts saying thank you, but this is where I need it.
Yeah. And also the thing is as well is that when we have inflammation, now we know that every one of us has inflammation in the body, right?
Yeah.
So where we have inflammation, we have to actually reduce that inflammation in order for the stem cell activity to occur. Because the inflammation eats up stem cells. So if we can reduce the inflammation, that means those stem cells can get to work.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we actually have another patch which is dealing specifically with the inflammation.
Yeah.
So you need to work those in tandem. And when you start getting and working them together, things really start to change. Now, I would never have believed at how quickly something could heal. So, for an example, my husband has trying to think, fast growing cells on his head.
Right.
So I worked on his head. We used another substance that will actually try and pull things out and heal the wound. We had a lump come out, which is fine, but it was nice and clean. So it looked like a divot in his head. Now we've done this before, and we've had to feed the skin with like vitamin E oil or things to allow the cells, the skin cells, to heal. So when I looked at it, it was like 9:30 in the morning. And I thought, that's okay. It looks nice and clean. I don't need to do anything. We'll allow the air to see if it can breathe and it will start the healing. And I thought, right, at night, we'll put something over it so that nothing will get into it. It can't get infected, and we'll deal with that at night. So at 11:30 that same night, I went to go and get either the plaster, the gauze, or whatever to put over it. The skin had already healed over.
Mm.
So in 15 hours, the body had actually done it, which tells me that the stem cells, so we've been on the patches for over a year now, that has shown me how quickly and how clever the body is, that was an open wound that needed healed up, or at least a layer over it, so that nothing is going to come in.
Yeah. Fascinating. So you're speaking from experience, from what you've seen, what you've done, and why you're like, this is why this is something I'm passionate about getting into the work.
Yeah. And I had also a fast growing cell in my leg, same thing. And I was like, oh, gee whiz, we're not starting this rubbish again. And I was on the patches maybe 2 or 3 months, all healed up, no bleeding anymore. And it was a case of, and also I don't have any scar tissue there, which I found fascinating.
Wow.
And I'll just tell you something else. My husband had a stroke, well, coming up for 5 years now. And well, it was during the COVID period, so we had no access to doctors. There's been no follow-up. There's been nothing like that. And I said to him, one of my friends said, can I do an interview with you? I'm like, yeah. So she says she wanted to hear what's happened with my husband. And I said to him before we went on the call, I says, hey, anything happening with these patches? And he went, oh, yeah. And I'm like, are you going to enlighten me? Are you going to share this with me? Or is it
the pun, but enlighten me.
is it a secret here? And he says, oh, no. He says, it's okay. He says, I don't have any brain fog. And I went, since when did you have brain fog? Well, he's obviously had it through the whole stroke and the recovery from the stroke. And now he doesn't.
Wow.
So, yeah. The thing is, sometimes, yes, these are big things for us.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, we're always looking for the big things, but it's also the small things that are actually happening in the background. And I'll just give you, sorry, another thing. I used to, when my mom was still alive and she used to stay here, you know, if she was still sleeping, I would creep up the stairs. And then you just heard this bellow going, no point in trying to creep up the stairs. I can hear your knees. And you were like, damn. My knees don't creak. My knees don't creak anymore.
Wow.
And it was only somebody said that the knees, you know, we were discussing it and she said, oh, my knees don't creak anymore. And I went, I'd forgotten about that. Because it wasn't the big thing that I was looking for, you know, using these patches. What was it that I wanted something big to happen? But it's all these small little things that add up.
I can see how you talk about it. You're quite passionate about it because you've seen what it's done for you and your family. And that's important, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And when you've seen those results, you kind of want to share that with the world. It's like, oh my God, this has happened to us. But even though understanding that everyone's now, when you say that everybody's, you know, outcomes are different, do you think that comes down to the belief in it?
No, not so much belief. It's about what's happening in the body.
Okay.
Everyone has whatever is going on in their body, what is important that needs to be sorted first.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
You know, we can't see in the inside and go, oh, but it's your liver, it's the kidneys, it's this and that, because we don't know.
No.
You know, if we could see inside, it'd be a hell of a lot easier.
But what you're saying is the light does know.
Yes.
Oh, you don't have to know, but the patch does. That is absolutely fascinating, Karen. And to hear you speak so passionately about it, and the patch is called the X39, which is not a bus from Leven to Glenrothes in any way whatsoever. So you're very. I can see how passionate you are. Is there anything else you want to share with anyone listening to talk about the X39 and how to get in contact with you and have those chats of see if it's something that would be beneficial for them?
Yeah, we'll drop the links into the chat and that.
Yeah.
But you can send me an email, KarenMaySimpson@gmail.com. And I can also we've also got a chat bot that I can send you the link that will take you through everything and really explain, how it all works, what it does, etc. More on the more corporate, how they explain how it actually works about light and all that. So I can send that all with you. And again, for me, it's about awareness.
Mm.
If you know what my mom used to always say to me, knowledge is power.
Mm-hmm.
You can't make an informed decision if you don't have the knowledge.
That's very true. And there is a lack of knowledge these days because when the true knowledge speaks, it seems to get the label of alternative or no, that's not traditional, that's not the way. It's actually the traditional way. It was the
The
new way.
truth.
Yeah, the truth. Karen, that's been absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much for coming on to the Mind Management Mentors podcast. I will say to everyone, if there's ever a shining example of if it's in the mind, it can be managed. Karen May Simpson has the conversation for that because it's not just in the mind. And look, I think there is a better understanding of how food is causing a lot of the disease that we have in the world. And if we don't have that light, if we don't have the copper that we used to have, just can't stop thinking about my uncle with a copper bracelet. He had it for years and he swore by it. And I remember a lot of people swearing by it. In fact, there was a watch that Oprah Winfrey brought out, which had a copper spring on the back. And I remember, so it's fascinating how the trend of copper is coming back. And that's through
It's the same as even, what's his name, Mark Zuckerberg. All his new fancy house in, I think it's Hawaii or something, all copper piping.
Yeah, copper piping.
Right? And it's a case of why are all our houses...
Copper's good in the water.
Yeah.
Copper's actually really good in the water. And I remember that copper was good in the water.
Yes.
Wow.
And the thing is, it's like, look at the Ayurvedics, look at all that, they have everything in copper.
Yeah.
You drink the water, the copper actually heals you. You have to then ask the question, why is this idea that copper is bad? We've got to take all the copper pipes out of your homes and things like that because it's bad for you. No, it's actually healing you.
That's why they want it out. Oh my God.
We could have a long conversation on this.
Oh, do you know what? Do you know what? I'm going to say this. It boils my piss when you find out about these things and you're like, oh my God, oh I. You know, diverse in one way. My dad is super healthy he's coming up to weight. I think he's coming up to 78. To be fair, he's actually solid and healthy. And his diet growing up was beef dripping. All he ever wanted in his life was beef dripping. So he literally got brought up on beef dripping and chips. And they said you can't eat lard anymore. Take these things, but it's all coming back. No, you should be on the lard. You should be on the
thing is, as well, is what has everything been suppressed? That what is actually good for us, they don't want you to know about. And this is where the likes of me and everyone thinks, oh, you're an activist or you're doing that. I'm like, no, I'm not an activist. All I'm saying is wake up and smell the coffee. Really start looking.
Smell the copper.
Yeah. But this is it. We're going back to the likes of, how to grow your own food. How, what are you eating? How do you cook? I mean, I do dehydrating of food. I store food. I do canning. I grow my own food. So it's about a full, you want to go homesteading, if that's what you want to call it. They use what they have in the gardens. They use all of that to help heal not only ailments and all that, but feed the body with the right nourishment.
Yeah. If there was ever an episode that said if it's in the mind, it can be managed, it certainly can. Karen, you were an absolute pleasure as a guest. Thank you very much. Is
Thank
there
you.
anything else you would like to share before we sign off on the Mind Management Mentors podcast?
There is only one thing that you need to remember. You are the one who heals you.
And on that bombshell, it's an absolute pleasure. Big love from Cuddy, and we'll see you on the
Thank
next
you so
episode.
much.
Not a problem at all, Karen. We'll see you on the next episode of the Mind Management Mentors podcast.